I thought after a year of failed indictments, dismissed cases, and grand juries laughing him out of the room, Donald Trump would learn to be quiet about wanting to jail his political enemies. I was wrong. This week, he got louder. On April 28th, his Department of Justice secured a second indictment against former FBI Director James Comey. The crime? A photo of seashells. I want you to think about that. The federal government of the United States, your Department of Justice, paid for with your money, is prosecuting a man over a beach picture. This is the third indictment in 7 months of someone who publicly criticized the president. The first Comey case was thrown out by a federal judge. 2 separate grand juries refused to charge New York Attorney General Letitia James. And there is one word, a single word, Donald Trump said when he found out his demand to prosecute his enemies had accidentally gone public. And I'm going to tell you what that word was. But you need to see how we got here first. We'll get to the seashell prosecution that even Trump's own former White House lawyer says is going to get thrown out. We'll get to what a sitting Republican senator said on the record about all of this, and we'll get to that one word. Because what he said when he realized what had happened tells you exactly what this entire thing has been about from the start. Let's start with the part that shouldn't be real, but it is. But this isn't just any indictment. This is the second time in 7 months that the Trump Justice Department has tried to charge James Comey with a federal crime. And the first time, a judge threw the entire thing out. Here is what they are prosecuting him for now. Last May, while on vacation in North Carolina, Comey posted an Instagram photo of seashells on a beach arranged to read 8647. 86 is Old American slang. It means, broadly, to get rid of someone. 47 is the 47th President of the United States. Comey deleted the post. He said he thought it was a political message. The Secret Service interviewed him. He wasn't arrested, no charges were filed, and that was all last May. For nearly a year, that case just sat. Then on April 28, 2026, a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of North Carolina indicted James Comey on 2 counts of threatening the life of the president. Each count carries up to 10 years in prison. And here's where it gets surreal. Ty Cobb, not a Democrat, not a never-Trumper, but Donald Trump's own former White House lawyer, went on CNN that night and said this case is, quote, specious, classic revenge, vindictive prosecution. He added that there is no evidence that any reasonable person would have taken a seashell picture as a death threat to the president. That is, the president's own former lawyer on record on CNN, and here's what you need to understand. This indictment didn't come from a prosecutor building a case. It came from a calendar. According to MS Now reporting, the seashell case had been set aside as too weak. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General at the time, believed the Virginia false statements case against Comey was significantly stronger. The seashell case sat on the back burner for 9 months. Then on April 1st, Bondi was fired, and the case shifted, in their words, into overdrive. The man Trump installed as acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, was Trump's personal defense attorney during his criminal trials. 27 days after Blanche took over, Comey was re-indicted. And the part nobody's talking about, Donald Trump didn't even mean to say any of this out loud, and we're going to get there. But the seashell case is just the surface. To see how broken this really is, you have to look at what happened in court. Because while the cameras have been on the indictments, the courtrooms have been telling a different story. On November 24th, 2025, senior U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry dismissed both the Comey indictment and the Letitia James indictment in one ruling. Why? Because the prosecutor who brought them, Lindsay Halligan, Donald Trump's former personal defense attorney with 0 prosecutorial experience, had been unlawfully appointed. The court invoked Supreme Court precedent and vacated every action that she had taken. Both indictments were erased. The Brennan Center later documented that before Halligan ever walked into the grand jury room, career prosecutors had told her the evidence did not even meet the low probable cause standard for indictment. She brought the charges anyway. Then, in December, the DOJ tried again with Letitia James. They went back to a Virginia grand jury. NPR's Carrie Johnson summarized what happened next this way. It is so unusual for grand jurors to refuse to return an indictment that prosecutors used to say they could indict a ham sandwich. This grand jury refused. ABC News reported that the original career prosecutors who had investigated James had found evidence that appeared to undercut some of the allegations in that indictment. In February of this year, the DOJ tried to indict 6 sitting members of Congress, including Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin, for a seditious conspiracy. Their crime? A 90-second video reminding the military and intelligence community to refuse illegal orders. The grand jury refused. 3 failed prosecutions, and it's not just Democrats noticing. Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina said on the record, "Political lawfare waged by either side undermines America's criminal justice system, which is the gold standard of the world. Political lawfare," he said, "is not normal, not acceptable, and needs to stop." Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, speaking about the Powell investigation, said the administration's investigation is nothing more than an attempt at coercion. Meanwhile, more than 100 career DOJ prosecutors have resigned since January of 2025. The number 2 official in the Eastern District of Virginia, Robert McBride, a 64-year-old former Navy lawyer, was fired in January for refusing to lead the Comey case. And the worst part is, the part that is about to make every other piece of this make sense, it comes down to just one word. The word the president said when he found out. To understand what this is really about, we have to go back to September. On September 20th, 2025, Donald Trump sends a long Truth Social post addressed to Pam Bondi, his attorney general. The post reads, word for word, like a text message. Because according to the Wall Street Journal, NBC News, and a Trump administration official speaking on the record, it was a text message. He meant to send it privately, but he didn't. And when he found out that it had gone public, an administration official told NBC News he just said one word, "Oh." Then he tried to shrug it off. Here is what that private message said. "Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now." 3 days later, Eric Seibert, the career U.S. attorney who had told the DOJ leadership that there was not enough evidence to charge Letitia James, was forced out. Lindsay Halligan, the personal defense attorney, was stalled in his place. 5 days after that, Comey was indicted. 3 weeks later, James was indicted. 3 weeks after that, John Bolton was indicted. Then, on April 1st of this year, Pam Bondi herself was fired. CBS News reported the reason directly: dissatisfaction with how aggressively she pursued Trump's prosecutions of his perceived political enemies. 27 days after Bondi was fired, Comey was re-indicted over the seashells. This isn't analysis. This isn't me speculating. This is the documented record. The President of the United States typed a written demand that his Attorney General prosecute 3 named American citizens. He thought it was private. When he found out it wasn't, he said, "Oh." Then he watched while a prosecutor he handpicked indicted every single person on his list. So what does the documented record actually tell us? It tells us the Department of Justice, the same department that prosecutes drug traffickers, terrorists, and corrupt officials, has in 12 months lost 2 of 3 Trump target prosecutions in court, been refused by grand juries on 3 separate occasions, and watched more than 100 career prosecutors walk out the door. It tells us that the last Attorney General was fired for not jailing the president's enemies fast enough. It tells us that her replacement is the president's former personal defense attorney. And it tells us that the man at the top wrote it all down himself in a message he did not know the world would see. None of this is hidden. None of this requires inference. The court rulings are public. The Truth Social post is public. The Republican senators went on record, and the fired prosecutors have names. This is what the evidence argues for. Senators who treat this as a master alarm. Mark Kelly called it. Voters who put real fighters in primary races, not appeasers. reporters who name the pattern, not the incident, and citizens who refuse to pretend this is normal. When the President of the United States accidentally tells you in writing that he wants his enemies prosecuted, believe him. The record already does.